Hello friends, and welcome to Sustainable Prepping, your home for fear-free emergency and a sustainable life. My name is Brecky, and today I want to do a very quick car chat with you. My family has gone up into the mountains to see some family for a long weekend, and I didn't bring all my filming gear, so we're doing a quick car chat. Those of you who've been around a while know I used to do a lot of car chats, not so much lately, and I wanted to start by saying, first of all, if you're new, welcome. I'm so glad you found us. If you're not new, welcome back. And especially if you found me from over at Park Rose Permaculture, thank you so much for coming over and subscribing. We have a lot in common, although Angela is certainly way further down the self-sufficiency, sustainable living trail than myself, but glad to have you all here. I want to talk a little bit today about what do we do, just some thoughts. What do we do in such a polarized country? And how can we begin to start brainstorming advanced citizenship in a way that moves us away from authoritarian regimes and not compromising really important social values? And I don't have answers. I want to start by saying I don't have answers. This is kind of off the cuff. I'm literally just picked up some biscuits. I can't talk for long, but I want to pose the question. I watch Bo over Bo at the Fifth Column. He talks about how voting is actually the lowest form of democratic involvement, and what do we need to be doing to level our game up? Not all of us want to be elected officials. I know I don't have an interest in being an elected official. The whole process of even county level elected officials in our country has become so toxic, and people digging through your past and your life and invading your privacy is not something I personally am interested in right now in this season of my life, and probably ever in my life, to be honest. But I do want to be more involved. I know that one of my goals in this new year is to do CRT training and to find ways that I can be volunteering on a regular basis in my community. That's a value of mine because I happen to be Christian, but also I think it's a part of our democratic values is to be members of our communities that give back. One of the things I find so toxic about the far right and some forms of the left is that we have this idea that we can take and take and take without, and our taxes is all we have to give back, right? That nothing else is required of us except that we pay taxes, so it justifies us taking. When in reality, functional democracy requires a lot of volunteer hours. And that's a greater conversation about what that looks like if you have both partners in, traditional marriage structures and two-person marriage structures working and not having the free time to volunteer, because a lot of this organizing fell on the shoulders of, the unpaid labor of women. And that's a video for another time. I have a whole conversation I want to talk about that and what do we do, right? But how are we doing advanced citizenship? What does it take beyond voting, right? Voting is the most basic form of our citizenship. So what comes next, right? Serving on a council, running a campaign, okay, that's one of the options, but it's not the only option. How do we do advanced citizenship 101? How do we do advanced citizenship 102, 201, 202? How do we begin to work on ourselves so that we can be better advanced citizens? And while I'm talking specifically about the United States, the majority of my viewers come from North America. And although the Canadian system is different because of the parliamentary system and the fact that you still have the head as the queen, you still have a democratic system in which you elect your members of parliament. And in some ways, you have more of a representative government than we have in the United States because of our two-party system. For example, the Republican Party is a really great example. The MAGA Republicans are not actually more numerical than traditional sort of Reagan era, I want low taxes and a small central government and a big army kind of Republicans, right? This hyper nationalistic, hyper conservative, like authoritarian branch of the Republican Party is actually pretty small. But because they can't win seats separate from the other, right? Like because the Republican Party can't win seats separated out between the MAGAs and the like neocons and the old fashioned log cabin Republicans, they have to coalesce together and just elect all at once rather than parsing those out into smaller seats. Now, the downside is, like I think about the UK election from a few years ago where like UKIP, which is a hyper white nationalist organization, actually got seats. We don't get individual seats in that way. And you don't have to worry about forming coalition governments, sort of. But I would argue that the Republican Party is a coalition. I would argue that the Democratic Party is a coalition. You've got Bernie and AOC kind of representing the sort of progressive wing, which really isn't actually that progressive. And then you have people like Biden, Joe Manchin, who is like, he's a Republican. Joe Manchin is a Republican who's only a Democrat because he inherited the Democratic title from Senator Byrd. Anyway, that I used to live in West Virginia. I have a lot of feelings. All of this rant, this rambly rant, is just to say, what do we do to advance our citizenship? What do we do right now? We can complain about it. We can moan about it. We can vote every 2 years at the presidential, the big federal election and the midterms. But what else do we do? How are you and I going to work on that everyday basis? Calling our representatives, holding them accountable, letting them know that we're watching? Sure. But what else? What else is there? I'm not really sure because it wasn't taught in schools. And I'll be honest with you, I've been so busy with life that I haven't paid attention. And I think that authoritarian leaning individuals have banked on us not paying attention. And so I want us to pay attention. What are we going to do? Let's brainstorm it in the comments. Brainstorm it with me over in the Facebook group. Every Wednesday, we're shouting about our wins and our losses. So come over and shout with us. Come and talk and let's figure out how we do citizenship. We up-level our citizenship in whatever country you find yourself to hold your governments accountable, to make your local governments work better for you, right? To make your local governments work better for you and to help make some changes that we believe are important and are possible. All right, it's raining here. I've got biscuits in the car and hungry family. This is gonna be a very raw video, y'all, because I don't have all my editing stuff, so forgive me for that, but I wanted to get a video out to you. I hope you're all doing well. And until the next video, y'all, happy prepping.